Hello and welcome to DendroTweaks video tutorials. In this tutorial, you will learn how to load and explore one of the example models using the web-based graphical interface. I have here the main page of our online platform at dendrotweaks.dendrise.gr open in my browser. Here you can find some useful information on this About and User Guide pages, but for now, we'll go ahead and press this button to launch the app. Now you can see the graphical interface of DendroTweaks. Initially, only the left menu is visible, and we need to first load our model. At the top of the menu, you'll find a status panel where you can see some useful prompts and check the status messages. Below, there is the Import-Export panel that we'll use to load our model. Let's select a model of a layer 2 free pyramidal neuron from the mouse visual cortex, which comes from the Park et al. 2019 paper. I have reproduced this model in DendroTweaks and saved it in a modular format. The model is divided into separate files representing the morphology, biophysical configuration, and simulation protocols. Check the link in the description to this video to learn more about the file formats and directory structure used in DendroTweaks. Now, let's start by loading the morphology. Next, let's load the biophysical configuration of our cell. And finally, let's load a protocol that adds a depolarizing current at the soma and records the voltage from that same location. Now we can see both the workspace and the right menu have appeared. In the workspace, we can see the cell plot displaying the 3D morphology of the cell, and the graph plot showing computational segments of the model discretized in space. At the bottom, there is a panel where recorded variables such as the membrane potential appear once we run a simulation. The right menu provides useful widgets to modify morphological and biophysical properties and add recordings and stimuli. We can navigate through the cell by simply clicking on branches or using the navigation panel. The default bokeh widgets allow us to zoom in and out select specific parts of the cell, and perform other navigation functions. On the graph plot, we can nicely visualize different morphological and biophysical parameters. By default, these colors represent different morphological domains of our cell. In the Morphology tab of the right menu, we have access to different morphological properties of our cell. We can visualize the section diameters and distribution of a given parameter. We can specify domains of our cell, and we can also reduce the morphology, which will be covered later in the course. And finally, we can do simple morphometric analysis for the selected parts of the cell. In the Biophysics tab, we can find all the membrane mechanisms added to our model, such as various ion channels. Here, we can also modify channel distributions and other parameters, which we'll cover later in the course. Now we have our model fully loaded, and we can, for example, modify the injected current. In the Recordings and Stimuli tab, we can verify that we are recording voltage from the soma and applying a current clamp to the same location. Let's slightly increase the amplitude of the injected current. And now we can see the updated voltage trace showing more spikes. We can adjust simulation parameters such as spatial and temporal discretization from the Simulation tab of the left menu. For computationally heavy models, we can also disable the interactive regime. In this case, after changing some parameters, we'll need to manually run the simulation using this button. We can easily go back and select another predefined simulation protocol, like this. In the online version, you cannot save your progress. However, if you install the application locally, you will be able to separately save the morphology, channel models, biophysical configuration, and simulation protocols. Finally, to work with a different model, you will simply need to reload the page and start the process again from the beginning. To sum up, in this video, we have covered the basic steps for loading a model and running simulations in DendroTweaks. Later in the course, you will learn how to build a simple model from scratch. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.